How's it going, Radical viewers, and welcome back to another Grim Rolls, where we try to recreate well-known, unique, or infamous characters in Baldur's Gate 3. Timestamps down below in the description for your convenience, but for now, let's dive into the lore of today's subject.
You can set it all on fire.
Born on the streets of Memnon in Calimsham to a mother of the night and a drunkard of a father, Artemis's life was not a kind one from the beginning. Even at such a young age, he found himself sold as a slave to a traveling merchant. This new page of his life, though, would introduce Artemis to Pasha Bacedoni, who would go on to teach him the tricks of the trade of his guild of thieves. Soon, he flourished and became the most efficient, arguably the deadliest assassin in Calimsham, if not all of Faerun. Tasked with recovering a particular halfling who was stolen from another Pasha known as Pook, he spent 5 years hunting, searching, and found himself in Icewind Dale, where he found not just the halfling, but his various friends, including a particular drow, who would show himself to be more than a match for the deadly assassin. For this reason alone, Artemis would soon become obsessed with the yearning to know just who the better fighter truly was between him and the Underelf. To say more would possibly spoil a fantastic book series I wholeheartedly recommend, as Artemis is just one of many characters who grow and develop over the course of the Legends of Drizzt. So, enough about that, let's move on to the appearance and level guides. Start off with appearance, we're going to go ahead and select Head 5. Voice, we don't really hear any true iteration of Artemis Entreri's voice, unless we're going off the Victor Bavine version, in which case he has kind of a raspy, almost airy tone to him. For skin color, we're going to go with Warm Tone 1, and no scarring. For eyes, we're going to go with Gray 1, as it's constantly described throughout the books that Artemis Entreri almost has these soulless, dead gray eyes constantly. For hair, we're going to throw on the Rapscallion with Black Brown, as well as throwing in some Gray-Black 1 highlights. And for that reason alone, feel free to play around with maturity. I personally like setting it at more of the halfway point than anything else. Artemis is also described as having various forms of facial hair, from just a scruffy bit of 5 o'clock shadow, all the way down to this wonderful soul patch in the Chin Grove, as well as the Charming Devil. Though he's also been described as having a full beard in some of the books as well. For our race, we're going to select Human. Starting class, we're going to select Rogue, with a background in Urchin. For our skill proficiencies, we're going to put into Acrobatics, Sleight of Hand, Stealth, Insight, Perception, Deception, and Intimidation, with our expertise going to Stealth and Intimidation. For our ability points, we're going to have a 12 in Strength, a 14 in Dex, a 14 in Constitution, 11 Intelligence, 12 Wisdom, and 10 Charisma, with our +2 bonus going to Dexterity, and our +1 bonus going to Intelligence, respectively, giving us a 16 Dex and a 12 Intelligence score. Levels 2 through 6, we're going to continue being a Rogue, and we're going to take the subclass Assassin to represent all the time that Artemis Entreri spent of his life just being with the Thieves Guild under Pasha Bacedoni, with our last remaining 7 through 12 levels going to Fighter Battlemaster. As throughout the book series, Artemis Entreri actually more often refers to himself as a fighter than anything else, and seeing as how he can actually keep up with Drizzt Do'Urden himself, Battlemaster makes the most sense, as he's constantly being described as using feints, parries, ripostes. Battlemaster is about the only thing that truly fits this. Not to mention one of the maneuvers we can pick up is Menacing Attack, and if anything, Artemis is menacing. For what I would call a necessary feat, we're going to pick up Dual Wielder eventually. Ultimately, we want to use a rapier or even some long swords with our daggers or short swords, and the +1 to AC is more than welcomed. As for optional feats, Athlete I will always recommend, as the extra oomph to the jump distance, movement safe from standing when prone, and the +1 to even out strength or dex is hard to personally pass up when I'm pretty satisfied with everything else, or I just need a feat to bring up strength or dex. Savage Attacker is a great option as well. Rerolling for potentially more damage is always welcomed, especially on those crits which can absolutely melt if not outright take out enemies. For equipment, Entreri is always described as wearing lighter, dark leathers for armor, dark cloaks with hoods, and eventually a bolero concealing a garrote wire. With his hands resting at a saber or longsword at one hip and a wicked jeweled dagger with a deadly thirst at the other. When it comes to longswords, there are a few finesse options. Scimitars can easily be considered close enough to sabers as well as rapiers, and there's no shortage of daggers or short swords, some which are eerily akin to Entreri's infamous jeweled dagger. One of the things I truly adore most about this game is simply the fact just creating a different character can give you a whole different experience. A grand example, trying to emulate Artemis Entreri in the game, I was something of a very cold and heartless person. I flat out shunned Shadowheart. She didn't even join my party. I did pick up Asterion, as I felt as though he was about the only kindred spirit I was going to be getting for quite a while in Act 1. Gale, I did free from the stone, and then immediately pulled my blades on him. Needless to say, this has greatly affected the plotline for me personally, and I find it an extravagantly unique experience, which I can safely say for just about every character I've ever created in this game, and I think most people can also easily attest to that. As for Laziel, I saw her as Entreri's first real lead to curing his affliction. Along with seeing her as a nuisance more often than not, I feel there would be an almost as strange respect given out of everyone you meet upon your new tenant in your skull. She is the most upfront and aggressive pursuer for a cure, pushing longer to move faster to follow her to her own lead for that cure. Needless to say, as a somewhat heartless and very much deadly assassin, you're not going to be making a whole lot of friends. As to where that path takes you, I leave that up to player discretion, as showing any more would potentially just spoil more of the story for anyone who hasn't quite gotten their teeth into this game just yet. And as promised, our next subject is going to be Jarlaxle Bienri, the mercenary leader of Brigandy Earth. No, we are not going to talk about the Dragon Sisters. No, we're not talking about that. That being said, I do still plan on doing Brunner Battlehammer as well as Regis, just to fill out the companions of the hall proper. Though save for a couple of requests that have been thrown around, such as Gromf and Matron Malice, I'm going to be soon running out of ideas. Save for some absurdly kooky character creations I've actually made for Dungeons & Dragons proper, such as Darth Vader, Sun Wukong, just to name a few. For that, I am always open to ideas, opinions, and requests, so feel free to not just like, share, and subscribe, but drop a comment about what you might like to see in the future of Grimrolls. Until then though, stay radical viewers, and we will catch you all in the next video. See you then.